Recording in progress.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Hope everyone is doing good today. All right. We just want to tell everyone thank you so much for joining us this morning for our webinar of what SBA can do for entrepreneurs in Kansas. I am Jenny Tukeski. I am the Programming and Communications Manager here for the Better Business Bureau Midwest Plains. And we are so happy that during kickoff week for Small Business Week that you're able to join us and that Michael is able to join us as well. Just to let everyone know, we are recording this webinar this morning, and later on this afternoon, I will get a follow-up email sent out to you with a link to the webinar as well as the resources and website that Michael talks about today, just for future reference for you. Today, you will learn how Small Business Administration, the SBA, and its resource partners can assist entrepreneurs and small business owners with counseling, advising, and training. Additionally, you will be able to gain knowledge about lending programs, including the definition of an SBA loan and how to obtain one. We are fortunate to have Michael Almack, Economic Development Specialist and Public Information Officer within the Wichita District Office, as our special guest today. We kindly ask that if you have any questions to please leave it in the Q&A area, and at the end of the presentation we'll have time to get back to those questions for you. So we will go ahead and get started. Michael, welcome, and it is all yours.
Good morning, and thank you, Jenny, and the Better Business Bureau, for inviting us to participate in this National Small Business Week webinar. And I'm going to talk to you today about what the SBA does and how we help small businesses get started, expand, even do international trade. And we also help small businesses through our counseling and resource partners to help them even in succession and exit planning for their business. So all stages of a business, from the dreaming to putting together a feasibility study, all the way through the life of the business. And that's what the SBA is all about. And I guess I'll raise my hand for the next slide. In fact, you can go 2 slides. And so the SBA was started. It is a small federal agency. There are probably only 4,000 staff members in the country that run the agency. We are here in Kansas, and it happens to be where our president, Eisenhower, who grew up in Abilene, Kansas, just north of here, back in 1953, he signed the Small Business Act. And that was an act of Congress to provide resources and protections to small businesses to help them both grow locally, nationally, and internationally. And so part of that act gave the SBA both resources and a mission to help businesses start, grow, and expand and recover after a disaster. And that should be top of mind right now here in Kansas. We've had rough weather the last couple of days and last week. And so we have a role in helping small businesses, even homeowners and renters, recover uninsured losses after a natural disaster. So you go to the next slide. Here in Kansas, the state is split between 2 SBA offices, one in Kansas City and one here based in Wichita. And that may be because I think both St. Louis and Kansas City both straddle different states. And so we have basically the western 2/3 of the state And so our office, there's 7 people here, and we basically cover everything west of Topeka. And those east are served by the Kansas City district office. But regardless of where you are, we're one SBA, and we're here to help you and get the resources that you need. Next slide. So yeah, small businesses, every president says that, it is the backbone of our economy. There are 33 million small businesses that basically account for the vast majority, 99, almost 100% of the jobs in the country, and almost approaching 50% of our gross domestic product. So small businesses and entrepreneurship really are what makes America great and innovative and so rich in diversity. So go to the next slide. So what we do is, we help with entrepreneurial development. That's through technical assistance, training. Our resource partners, which I'll explain in a little bit, they help entrepreneurs and business owners, working one-on-one with them to provide confidential, no-cost assistance to help them put together a business plan or proposal, even like I said, succession planning and recovering from a disaster. So we help with that assistance, technical assistance, we call it. We provide better access to capital for small businesses. And I'll talk about what the SBA loan guarantee program is and a little bit. We also help businesses diversify their consumers or their customer base through government contracting. A lot of people, there are many, many businesses that provide a service or products, and they sell it on the commercial market, but they may not realize that those products and services are needed by local, state, and federal government. And it's a great way to diversify risk and expand your market regardless of your location. Is through government contracting and international trade. So we help with those things. We help connect small businesses to government contracting opportunities and take the mystery out of that whole sector of government contracting. And lastly, but not least, is our disaster recovery programs. We work under FEMA, Federal Emergency Management Agency administration, their umbrella. They basically take the lead with all natural disasters. But the Small Business Administration is the only agency that can actually provide disaster recovery loans. In other words, it's the only time we loan directly to an individual or a business with federal dollars to help them recover their uninsured losses and get them back to where they were in the district. And so, including churches, we help with that recovery, renters and homeowners. We can provide low interest, long-term, 30-year loan to help an individual or a business rebuild and get back to where they were before the disaster. Next slide. And so we'll get into, what our resource partners do. Next slide. And so both those of us here, we have a small staff, but those of us here at the office and with the small business development centers and SCORE, which we'll talk about in a minute, we help businesses with getting both a business plan put together, which I like to call a feasibility plan. It doesn't have to be a book. You don't need to be an author to create one. In fact, some lenders, they don't require that sort of formal business plan. They send questions and want the business owner or the entrepreneur to respond with, what they're planning to do, how much money they need to do it, and how it can both, pay off the loan as well as improve the life of the business owner themselves and help them grow. So we help with that calculation. We have free online templates to help people put together both business plan and financial projections. We help with actually working with lenders to get loans approved, and both in disaster continuity planning. What happens if something happens, if you're injured or a key employee uh, uh, can no longer work. How do you plan for that so that when the unexpected interruption or disaster happens, that the business can keep going? And we also do some cybersecurity. I do some cybersecurity webinars, uh, basically essentials for what's things that small business owners need to know to protect their data and their customers and their staff. And lastly, but not least, is the international trade. And that's, like I said, similar to government contracting. It's a way to really expand your customer base regardless of your location. Next slide. So our resource partners are funded in part through the SBA, but also through local universities and state governments. Our small business development centers here, there are 18 centers, and you'll see a map in the coming slide, but uh, they serve all of Kansas, and they are funded in part by the SBA, the Kansas Department of Commerce, and those host institutions, which include Fort Hays State, uh, KU, Wichita State, Emporia State, Pittsburgh State, and they can work with you and give you one-on-one assistance and financial and market analysis using databases that you normally have to spend hundreds of dollars on, and or pay a consultant to give you that information. But they do it at no cost to you. It's already paid for by your tax dollars and by the universities and the state. And SCORE is a national nonprofit. SCORE, SCORE.org is their website. And it's a group of individuals that are either still in business or have been in business, and they volunteer their time to work one-on-one with entrepreneurs and business owners to give them good feedback, help them solidify their plans or their plan of action. And they don't do the work for you, but they definitely provide you, objective, sound advice and mentorship. We have a women's business center in the KC metro area and throughout the country. And these are programs that help, women entrepreneurs. They even have some matching loan funds. The Veterans Business Resource Center here, Kansas and Missouri and Iowa and Nebraska are served by VetBiz, and you see that logo there on the bottom right. Vetbiz.com. They provide great one-on-one and webinar training and resources to help veterans, service members transitioning out of the armed forces into entrepreneurship. So go to the next slide. Upcoming here in Kansas, we have a deadline coming up May 10th for a program called Thrive, Emerging Leaders. And this is a program, it's changed a little bit over the years, but we've done it here in the state since 2014. And it is a program for existing business owners to go through this 6-month program to help them create a strategic growth plan for their business and how they're going to expand the business. You go to the next slide. Oh, that was out of place. I'll talk about Thrive in a minute, but the small business development centers, like I said, they cover the state. And when you get this presentation sent to you, you'll have links to all these locations. You basically, if you Google SBDC, you'll find the local one near you. And it's also on our website, sba.gov, for local resources. Next slide. So access to capital. I'll talk about our loan programs now. Next slide. And so, as I mentioned earlier, the only time the SBA loans directly to an individual or a business is for a disaster loan, which can only be used to help a business repair, replace damaged items, and also recover the economic impact of disaster like COVID. Basically, that loan helps provide the working capital so a business can keep their doors open. It's not meant to be used to expand a business or to create a new business. It's meant to either repair physical damages or the economic injury caused by a disaster. So with our regular loan guarantee programs, we work with the vast majority of banks and credit unions across the state, across the country. And what we do is we give that lender a guarantee of that loan. They need to first approve, well, they need to uh, want to move the loan proposal forward. So they need to have faith in what the entrepreneur is needing the money for. But let's say the credit score is not as high as they like, or collateral is not as solid as they like. And instead of them just saying, you know what, I believe what you're trying to do, but because of this, that, or the other, we can't approve the loan. Well, if they get a guarantee from the SBA, which covers 50% up to 90% of the loan, depending on the program, that bank has that coverage. So if the business were to fail, they can recover, using the SBA guarantee. So it helps reduce the risk of a loan. And instead of the lender saying no, hopefully they say yes. That's the purpose. And so it's meant for uh, startup funding for a for-profit business. So you do need to be for-profit business, not nonprofit. Uh, Owned by U.S. citizens or those with legal status in the country. And it's meant for everything from the construction, purchasing equipment, inventory, and even in some cases, if you have an existing loan, even an SBA loan that has high or unreasonable terms, whether it's a short term, you know, it's only a 5-year loan or a 4-year loan, or the interest rate is excessive, or there's a balloon payment, that sort of thing. There are a little bit of hoops to go through, but if it works out to be, a 10% benefit to the bottom line of the business, that loan can be refinanced with an SBA loan. So next slide. So I kind of went over this just now. You need to be an organized for-profit business located locally in the United States. And, you need to be of good character. There's some businesses that cannot be financed. One of which is you can't use an SBA loan for speculative purposes. In other words, to buy property, to flip it. You need to be the owner operator of the business. And, you work with us, we can answer all these technical questions. So next slide. So the 7A loan program, it's called 7A because it's paragraph 7A of the Small Business Act that I mentioned earlier. And it provides businesses capital for both purchasing property, equipment, and working capital. And there are various programs within the 7A. There's an express. There are programs in which the lender, the full authority to approve it is given to the lender. So there's 7A. The 504 program is a little bit different because it can only be used for either property or equipment. Can't if you need monies funding just for that, then the 504 program may be a better option. No working capital, just to buy the equipment or the property, because there is a debenture involved with that loan program. It still goes through the banks and our CDCs, but it can reduce the cash injection you would need to obtain it. So if you've been in business quite some time and so forth, it could be as low as a 10% cash injection and up to 20%. So between 10 and 20% cash injection, it can actually be a very good deal with a 20 to 25-year term, or depending on if it's for equipment, it would be for the life of that equipment. So it could be maybe 8 to 10 years for equipment, but property can be 20 to 25 years. So that makes the monthly payment amount quite reasonable. Next slide. We also have microloans. These are loans for that could be used as gap financing up to 50,000. I think the median microloan is $17,000, and it could be used for the very beginning stages of a startup, where banks just, they don't loan, they wouldn't give a loan that small, or if the risk is a little too high, the microloans can really fill that gap, and it can be used in conjunction with other loans to uh, get all the funding needed for what you need as a business owner. So next slide. So yeah, it's been had quite an impact since its inception, and the SBA loan guarantee program is usually very essential when credit markets begin to tighten. Right now, we're at a higher interest rate environment. We don't know where things are going to go, but it really helps uh, provide access to capital to entrepreneurs and businesses, uh, regardless of the economic environment. Next slide. And our website, we have online tools to uh, help you find local lenders, basically through our lender match tool that's on our website, sba.gov, lender match. You put in some basic information and how much money you need, what it's going to be for. And within, I think, 24 to 48 hours, we'll send you an email with a list of lenders that sort of match what the sector you're going to be in and the funding that you need. There's also our online portal really helps those that have loans manage and get a quick, up-to-date status of their loans, can process payments, extra payments, and so forth. So our online tools have really improved, mainly because of the unprecedented disaster loan programs that we did during the COVID uh, pandemic. So next slide. Government contracting. Go ahead and next one. Like I said, it's a way to help you diversify your customer base, and we have some certifications that help businesses or entrepreneurs that have been socially or economically, historically disadvantaged when it comes to whatever sector they're in. So, there are certain sectors, if you think about construction, where it'd be sort of white male dominated, or really any sector in which it's difficult for the entrepreneur, based on their either economic or social status, to obtain funding, to obtain those contracts. Sorry, and the 8A Business Development Program is a 9-year program to. It's not a guarantee to get government contracts, but it's a way for the business to team with the SBA and our resource partners to develop their systems to um, handle more business and larger contracts. It's sort of a way to graduate from the very beginning of contracting to becoming eventually, hopefully, a prime contractor. We have a hub zone program, and what hub zone stands for is historically underutilized business zones. And there are a few in the state and across the country. And it's a program in which uh, businesses that are located in these zones, that have employees living in these zones, can receive contracts from federal agencies for various either products or services that they have. There's a woman-owned small business development program, and we can go to the next slide. Service disabled veteran-owned small business program, and we could spend a whole other hour on government contracting, but there are lots of programs that are in existence to help a business diversify their customer base through government contracting. And if you go to my next slide, the SBA has developed online portals to help a business become certified. One thing I always tell people is if they're interested in government contracting, they don't have to pay anyone to begin to do that. If you were to go online and look for federal contracting or the System for Award Management, SAM.gov, which is sort of the national online database in which any business that has a federal contract must have a profile in this database. Well, if you were to look for that in online search, you'll get page after page of consultants that are available to help you get registered and certified and even get you contracts, so they say, for the $5,000 or more. They're just doing it to make their own money, but you don't have to pay to do business with the government. And this online veterans.certify.sba.gov is a way for a veteran obtain and be registered as a veteran-owned small business using their DD 214. And it is a way to qualify for contracts through the VA and others to obtain contracts as a veteran. And the next slide will also explain that we have an online tool, Empower to Grow. And this is what was called the 7J, or paragraph 7J, program that gives technical assistance and online and one-on-one training to people that in the 8A program and to help them improve their processes and management of their business. And it's sort of an additional way to provide technical assistance to those in the government contracting world. So next slide. Yeah, the federal government is the largest purchaser of products and services in the world. And the SBA, as part of our purpose of helping small businesses, we make sure that all federal agencies, whether it's Department of Agriculture, Education, Defense, you name it, they need to dedicate 23%, at least 23% of their federal contracting dollars to small businesses. And on the next slide, you'll see those various programs even have guidance on how much of at least of that 23% needs to go to the small disadvantaged businesses, 8A program, women-owned small businesses. 5% of all contracting dollars should be given to those certified businesses, those in the hub zone, and service-disabled veteran-owned small businesses. Just veteran-owned businesses can also have some of these sole source contracts, but it's through the Veterans Administration, the VA. Not all agencies do that, but across the board, these are the goals that they have been given. And so our role is to help more and more businesses qualify for these programs, and take advantage of, like I said, this resource to help them expand their consumer base, their customer base. Next slide. Something new that's come up is after the bipartisan infrastructure law was put in place, there have been some funding made available to help reach the goal of improving our infrastructure throughout the country. And go to the next slide. There are rebates for both home repair and construction, all having to do with energy efficiency. There are now more resources to help businesses get involved in this, in the contracting related to the infrastructure developments going on right here in Kansas. Our State Department of Transportation, broadband expansion. There are many programs and a lot of money has been dedicated and allocated to Kansas to improve our infrastructure. And so we're, through these resources, helping businesses qualify to become subcontractors and prime contractors to work on these projects. The last one there regarding manufacturing, there is a very unique grant that's available for small and medium-sized manufacturers to help them both improve their energy efficiency and cybersecurity, safety, and waste mitigation. And it's up to $300,000. There is a 50% match. So it could be a project up to $600,000 total. 300,000, the maximum would be the grant, and the business would invest the other 50%. And there are even SBA loan programs to help obtain that 50% match. So this could be a way for our manufacturers to improve their energy efficiency and their lighting, their processes, safety, cybersecurity with that infrastructure, and what was the other? Water and water and or mainly energy efficiency. So sorry for misspeaking. These links, when you click on them, will take you to better explanation of these programs, but feel free to reach out to the SBA. Next slide. Other support, go ahead. So disaster loans, I kind of briefly explained it earlier, but it was brought to existence because typically after a major disaster, whether it's a huge tornado, hurricane, earthquake, lenders are also impacted. The local lenders are also impacted by those disasters and disruptions. And right when people need money to rebuild and get back on their feet, the lenders or banks and credit unions are trying to do the same thing. And so that's where the only time the federal government through the SBA can provide that capital to rebuild and maintain enough working capital to keep their doors open during that recovery process. And so it's always a low interest rate, below market rate, and it has a long 30-year term. And people can pay it back early. There's no prepayment penalty. And like I said, it's really meant to help businesses bounce back. And there's even extra funding to mitigate a future disaster. So if there was a big flood and you're in a sort of a floodplain, part of your recovery, your disaster loan, a little extra money can be put in there to help mitigate, creating barriers, drainage systems, and so forth, so that the business would be less susceptible to a similar disaster in the future. So, next slide. SBA has had a role in many businesses, getting them started. Those local to Kansas include the names on the screen: Cerner, the Hereford House, Gates Barbecue, Picasso's Pizza, Freddy's, Steak Burgers, and so forth are part of our success story. So there's a rich history of small businesses working out of their garage or just starting out and growing into a major corporation thanks to that initial funding provided through an SBA loan from their bank or credit union. Next slide. That's me, Michael Almack. Kind of went through that pretty quick. I can check if there are questions in the chat. Feel free to reach out to me. This presentation will be sent and posted online, so the links to all those programs will be available for you anytime. So Jenny, I think that was the last slide.
All right.
Yeah, we're always looking for feedback. Let us know how we're doing, and we are here to serve you.
We appreciate it, Michael. One question I had, what constitutes as a small business in regards to how many employees?
Good question. We have, the SBA has a size determination of what is a small business, and it depends on the sector. So I know off the top of my head, when it comes to manufacturers, it's 500 employees or less. There are some types of businesses where it's not based on number of employees, but total gross revenues. And so that may be a good tool. I could send the link if you were to look on the internet for SBA size determination tool. Uh, You'll be able to get that link. It's on our website, sba.gov, under the contracting link.
And why is it important to have a relationship with a lender versus just going online to apply for a loan somewhere?
It's a very good point that I bring up to all entrepreneurs is even though you may be a sole proprietor or a single person LLC, your team as a business is it goes beyond just you and maybe some staff members, because if you think about it, you know, you need to develop relationships with your lender, with your insurance provider, and make sure that you're receiving the correct coverage, you're not paying too much or too little, and an attorney in many cases. And so the old adage is don't spend your savings and take your balances down very low before you request a loan. So it's good to develop relationships with your lender. Start with the one you're already doing business with. Work with them, see what loan programs they have, and even before that, before you spend a lot of money on starting up a business, we're here and our resource partners are here to give you objective feedback on things to look out for, and make sure you're going into this, because business is a lot of hard work. As having a small business is risky, and so you want to make sure that you protect your savings, and so part of that is developing a relationship with your banks, shopping around. Not every bank is the same. Some banks, they're private businesses too, and they need to have a balanced portfolio and not have all their loans going to one particular sector. So at any given time, what a bank will approve or not approve, sometimes it seems arbitrary, but there's reasons for that. And so it's good to shop around, and it's good to have that relationship so you can hear firsthand uh, what's going on with the lender, with the bank or credit union. And the more they understand you, the more your plan that you put on paper for a loan proposal uh, is validated. And so lenders really need to know, who you are, your character, and your expertise, and your dream, and what you're planning to do. If they need that trust, we're all human, and so it's super important. So you can't be a cowboy all alone on this. Uh, Very few people like that can make it, and so it's super important to develop those relationships.
Thank you. All right. Just a couple of other things. Please check out our website, bbbinc.org, throughout the year for all of our upcoming events. This is just a list of the events that we have going on for May and beginning of June. So please check them out, sign up and register, and we'd love to see you at those as well. Again, I am Jenny Takaski, the programming manager here. If you have any ideas or events that you would like to see the BBB put on, please reach out and let me know. I'd love to discuss those opportunities with you. And again, on behalf of BBB Midwest Plains, I thank you all for taking the time out of your day to come out and listen to what Michael had to share with us, and hope you're able to utilize the resources that they provide for you. Also, appreciation and thank you to Michael for educating us and answering all of our questions today regarding small business administration. And just a reminder to get out there this week and support one another for Small Business Week. Finally, as well, we do have a quick survey as well. You can scan the QR code and fill it out. Again, we will get a follow-up email out to you today with the link to the webinar, and all of the resources and websites that Michael discussed today for you. So with that, again, thank you. I hope everyone has a wonderful day and stay safe out there.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.